Well, this is how I prepare the veneer for the structural part of this. I start out with my pattern, and I've got 4 sheets of veneer here stacked up, which will 2 pieces per layer will give me 2 full layers. I'll have to use some fresh veneer to make that 3rd layer. So I want to first of all make sure I've got the right length on this veneer. So make a little mark there. Use my square. Try to line up about what I think the edge of this veneer is going to be. Veneer always has a bunch of little cracks and stuff on the edge, so a lot of that has to go away. But when I get it about where I think it ought to be, let me get something sharper to mark here with. I'll use a pen. Okay, and then this will be the right length. So I'll go ahead and I'll cut this to length, and you might notice I've got a big sheet of plywood on top of my my plywood sawing jig that I have, I went ahead and put some good builder's paper on top to protect it, because I'm going to use this for gluing and everything. Plus I have another half sheet of plywood, which is a little more beat up, and a little thin 1/4-inch piece of plywood that I actually do the cutting on. So I'm real careful, I don't want to mess up my good plywood. So I take a straight edge, and using a veneer saw, which is, it's got little bitty teeth on it like a saw blade, but what you actually do is you just pull it. It's more like a cutting knife kind of an action. I will cut through all 4 layers. This oak just likes to split like crazy, so I've got to be really careful that I don't completely split it out on the edges. Okay. So that's waste to be used for something else. And now I've got my 4 sheets cut to length. Now the next step is to get a good straight line cut down this side. So I'm going to tape this together. Try to make it so this bundle doesn't move around. Okay, then I'll take my straight edge and lay it down here, and make sure I've got the straight edge inside all the cracked crummy wood. Okay, now that gives me a, excuse me, a pretty straight edge, but I do need to get these edges straight. So to do that, I've got a special jig that I made up, and I'll go ahead and show you what that is. Okay, I made this jig to hold the layers of veneer together so I could straighten the edge using the jointer or a hand plane. Now this is just simply 2 pieces of 2x4 that'll clamp together with, got a big nut and a carriage bolt on each end, and a strong back on each side. And the strong back, I actually, see if you can see this, I tapered it towards the center from each end. So there's a little bit of daylight here when it clamps together, that'll help distribute the clamping force along the entire length, because you don't want the veneer slipping while you're trying to joint it. So I went ahead and cut all the rest of the pieces of veneer that I would need for these pulpit side pieces. There'll be 12 layers altogether. You figure 2 of them become a single layer on the laminate, so you end up with 6 large layers, 3 for each side. So that's a lot of veneer to be messing with. All right. Now I just want to work it on in here a little bit so it sticks out a little bit proud, so that I can then joint off the waist. I know it's hard for you to see from that angle, but I'm just putting out about 1/8 of an inch of material along the length. Nice and tight so it doesn't go anywhere. And now I'll show you what this looks like. You can see how you've got about 1/8 of an inch sticking out there. And I can take it like this and run it through the jointer. Well, we've got the edges of the pieces of veneer squared up nicely, and so I'm pulling off 2 sheets, book match like this, although that doesn't matter, this won't be seen. Checking the edge alignment, seems pretty good. Let's see if it will fit the work that we have here. Yeah. That direction. Yeah, we'll go with this. We'll make the wide end towards me. I got a little split here I'm going to have to fix, but that's okay. All right, now since this layer here will be one of the middle layers, I need to make sure that when I tape these 2 pieces together that the tape is very thin, because I can't remove the tape, you know, before it's glued, and so the tape's going to be part of the final glue up. So I've got special tape here. It's perforated and very thin. It's made just for this. It allows glue to come through the little holes, and because it's thin, it doesn't telegraph through the material. I have one of these stamp liquor sponge things from the office supply. And so I simply get my tape wet, bring the 2 pieces together, lay the tape across, and we'll just let it dry. As this tape dries, it shrinks slightly and helps pull the 2 pieces together even more. So I'll put a few of these on. And then I'll take a long piece of tape, full length, and put it right down the middle. right over the middle of the seam as best as I can. Yeah, let's just let that dry for a minute before we move it, and then we'll get to the next layer, and we'll go ahead and make up all these right now. Now the structural veneer that is going to be on the outside faces of the laminate, they're going to get a different kind of tape. This is a solid tape, no perforations, and it's a little bit thicker than the perforated tape. And the reason you can use this is because it gets removed before you do the final veneering. So we'll put her on now. We'll go ahead and glue up everything into the bag, the vacuum bag, and when we're all done, we pull it on out. This stuff gets removed.